In my last episode, I explained theatre as an art of creating connection. I explained theatre is an art of creating connection. And also explained the non-dual nature of relationship between actor and spectators. Non-dualism. So when the relationship, the nature of relationship is non-dual, there has to be democracy. So therefore theatre is an art of democracy. And in this democratic environment, by creating democracy, actor and spectators learn from each other. So this is how we democratize our political action. Because theatre is politics. Theatre is not a support service to a political action. Political parties, political parties, NGOs, they often see theatre as a support service to the main political action. But for us, theatre is politics. I explained, possibly in my last video, that you cannot imagine black milk. When you imagine milk, the whiteness comes. So theatre and politics are like milk and its whiteness. They are inseparable. So naturally, when theatre appears as an art of democracy, that means we are democratizing politics. Politics today, in my context, politics means making people dependent. So the party, they want their cadres depend on their central leadership. The government wants their voters to depend on them. So wherever you go, they depend and they create the dependence. When we talk about non-party political organizations like trade unions, non-party political organization, activist movement, there also we see a center of power. That means the politics of making people dependent has got nothing to do with liberation. So if we want to liberate people, if we want to establish democracy in the society, we have to make people independent thinker. People should be accustomed to think critically and independently. The moment these independent critical thinkers will evolve in the society will definitely go towards a revolutionary change. So that is how we see theatre of the oppressed. Theatre of the oppressed wants to liberate people by giving them power to think critically, by helping them to evolve as intellectuals. And that is the reason why we do not encourage to see theatre as a problem-solving session. The moment we treat theatre as a problem-solving session, we want it or not, consciously or subconsciously, we restrict the scope of the participation. Because our approach always directs us towards a solution. So, knowing or unknowing, there is a risk of imposing the idea of the group, acting group, on their spectators. So theatre is then what? Theatre of the oppressed. Theatre of the Oppressed is a space, an intellectual space. It provides an intellectual space to the spectators, and here actor and spectators, they script intellectual power. Scripting intellectual power is the goal. So if we can script intellectual power, that breaks the passivity of the actors and spectators and turns them into activists and spect activists. So when they transform themselves into activists and spect activists, they inspire, they feel inspired to change the reality around. So instead of solving problem on stage, we want to disturb people intellectually. They should undertake, actors, spectators should undertake a collective intellectual journey to understand what they already knew. Theatre is a social metaphor. That means it originates from the society, and people live in the society. So you cannot say anything new. So our spectators knows the operation portrayed in our play. So what they will do? They will try to understand what they already know. So it's a journey from knowing to understanding. A scene of domestic violence will create an opportunity for the spectators and actors to understand how patriarchy exists as a construction within them, and then creating inspiration within the people to break that construction. And that is how theatre can humanize the human beings. Theatre can humanize the human society. This is what possibly I told in my first video. So here I just want to say one more thing. Yesterday I was talking to in a Zoom meeting about community and why did you go to community with COVID relief. So then I was actually thinking, do you not see sometimes the dysfunctional community? During the time of COVID, it was a panic was created. So people initially in the first wave, we have noticed people are avoiding people. If they hears in any family there is a COVID patient, nobody will go. So it was a absolute dysfunctional expression of community. The state I work, West Bengal, India, pre-election violence, violence during election, violence after election, post-election violence. These are common. People talk about it. Pre-election violence, post-election violence. These are very common things. Does these things do not represent the community? Also, if we don't take such an aggressive example, for example, we practice theatre of the oppressed. We go to the workers' community, and we sometimes go to the workers' community and see 500 people. We watch them demanding higher wages. But listen, every individual worker is thinking or he is there because he knows his wage will be increased. So my wage will increase. So this is basically, you can see the self-interest of a number of individuals have come together and appearing as a group. So in the appearance, they are a group of workers. But the reality is they are individuals with self-interest. That is the reason why after the wages increase, when they come out of the factory, they fight in the name of religion. Religiosity touches them. They discriminate on the basis of caste, race. They discriminate, the gender discrimination. It was never the agenda of the trade unions. So these are the things cannot help people to appear as a community. I am sounding quite pessimistic, but this is what I am very proud of the fact that we had a community. We used to call it Samaj. We had a Samaj. And this Samaj, this community, was not, they did not feel like depending totally on political parties, government, state. They themselves used to come together, community would come together and create social assets and act not for any individual but for the community, but for the collective. This was there. So now when our politics, the political intervention, developmental intervention, when we see it breaking or not paying attention to it, making people dependent on them, small power centers are evolving. Government, parties, NGOs, non-party political organizations, all of them are appearing as power centers, small or big power centers. They are making people blind followers. So we need to democratize the politics. Instead of making people blind followers, we want to create independent, intellectual, critical thinker, because theatre of the oppressed is founded on the fact that every individual is essentially intellectual and he doesn't or she doesn't know about it. So our duty is to see that that intellectual faculty within people can be manifested. That is the politics of theatre of the oppressed. So what I want to say is that our duty is to create a true community. And how can you create this true community? First of all, I have seen when 6-7 people are sitting in a circle I am talking about urban setting, the so-called intellectuals. I have seen them speaking. So everybody is trying to show their intellectual power. One person, Mr. X, is saying something, Mr. Y is calculating what will be his position soon after Mr. X finishes. So he has to either conflict, he has to either conflict or compliment to what the first speaker had said. So naturally, we are not used to listen to others. When I hear someone, I keep calculating as to what will be my position soon after he finishes this conversation. This is not dialogue. So it appears as if a group of people are engaged in a dialogue. That's the appearance. But the reality is they are all multiple monologues. So we fail to make a community within ourselves. So that, I think we should take care of that. That is why internal evolution is very important. To understand the oppressive person within us and to discover the human being within us and to invite the conflict between the two is very important. That is what I call internal evolution, and that gives us the right to go for an external revolution. And theatre of the oppressed to me is the rehearsal of the total revolution, because theatre of the oppressed is an art of introspection. I will explain later from my perspective, and also it is an art to understand the oppressive society around us and inspires us to act against it. So I'm coming back to my point that community building is the task today of all theatres and arts. So how do we create community in theatre of the oppressed? We extend an intellectual space to the spectator and ask them to argue, encourage them to argue, inspire them to argue, debate, discuss, What happens when a spectator goes to stage and interacts with the actors? What happens? This interaction raises question. And what does the Joker do? Joker finds the question and throws it to the house and requests spectators to address that questions evolving from the interaction. This is how each interaction between spectator and actor raises question, and the spectators follow those questions. They go deeper and deeper and deeper. That is how they develop critical understanding. And during the formation of this critical understanding, they get converged. They don't get separated. The argument where nobody is trying to win, but everybody is trying to understand the truth. Everybody is trying to find a path to be followed in order to address the operations shown in the play. So the goal is common. Naturally, this argument, this debate and discussion converging the people. They are getting converged. They are getting one. This is a non-dual nature of argument, debate, and non-dual nature of relationship. That happens. So the moment this argument brings people together, makes people connected, and the community evolves.